Einige Spiele schaffen es, sich einen Namen zu machen. Andere schaffen es, zu Klassikern zu werden. Borderlands ist sicherlich eines dieser Spiele, das man als modernen Klassiker bezeichnen würde. Denn egal, ob ihr es je gespielt habt oder nicht, ihr wisst, was Borderlands ist oder würdet es vermutlich auf einem Bild erkennen. Ein Spielfranchise mit einem solchen Wert wird natürlich nicht einfach unter den Teppich gekehrt, sondern ein großer Nachfolger muss her. Borderlands 3 erscheint am 13. September. Mein Name ist Marvin und ich habe mir für euch Borderlands 3 auf der diesjährigen Gamescom 2019 ein wenig genauer angeschaut. Allen voran wurde uns in einer Präsentation erzählt, dass man sich in der Entwicklung des Spiels auf den 4 Säulen des Franchises beruht hat und versucht hat, diese weiter zu verbessern. Die Story, die sich um die Calypso Twins fokussiert, sowie den daraus entstandenen Kult der Children of the Vault. Die beiden Zwillinge Troy und Tyreen sollen dabei in die Fußstapfen von Handsome Jack treten und versprechen, zumindest was ich jetzt optisch zumindest von denen bislang gesehen habe, ein ganz gutes Äquivalent zu sein. Die nächste Säule sind die Charaktere. Hier erwarten euch für euer Abenteuer gleich 4 neue, von denen ihr euch zu Beginn des Spiels einen aussuchen müsst. Amara ist eine Sirene, eine Art, ich würde mal sagen, Space-Magier, wenn man so möchte. Sirenen sind weitläufig im Borderlands-Franchise bereits bekannt, weil wir immer wieder welche im Laufe der anderen beiden Teile begegnet sind. Zane ist ein Operative. Sein Twist ist, dass er vor allem mit Maschinen und Erfindungen hantiert. Sprich, hier greift ihr größtenteils auf andere Hilfsmittel zurück, um die Gegner ins Jenseits zu schicken. Mit Mose haben wir einen Gunner an der Hand, was einfach nur ein fancy Begriff dafür ist, dass sie sich in einen Mech setzt. Ihr kennt Diva aus Overwatch, ihr kennt Mose. Last but not least mein Favorit, Flank, der Beastmaster. Als Roboter hat er was als Twist? Genau, Tiere. Der beste Freund des Roboters ist das Tier. Irgendwie so ging das Sprichwort doch, oder? Na egal. Für die dritte Säule, das FPS- und RPG-Gameplay, also das Shooter- und Rollenspielerlebnis, haben sie sich nicht nur über 1 Milliarde verrückter Waffen einfallen lassen, die teils, nachdem man sie wegschmeißt, auf Beinen weiterlaufen und schießen, sondern beispielsweise auch alternative Feuermodi. Damit können wir, um mal vielleicht einfach so ein Beispiel in den Raum zu werfen, eben Kugeln einer Waffe ändern. So wechseln wir zum Beispiel von den normalen Kugeln zu Raketen und zack, ist eine Waffe einfach vielseitiger und interessanter als vorher. Mit dem Level-Scaling soll zudem die 4. Säule, die Solo- bzw. in dem Fall eben die Koop-Erfahrung, verbessert werden. Grob runtergebrochen heißt das einfach, naja, wenn du Level 40 bist und ich bin Level 20, dann können wir trotzdem zusammenspielen, weil die Gegner für mich dann einfach wie Level 20 aussehen und entsprechender Loot für mich gedroppt wird. Es gibt also einfach keine Hürden mehr, dass Freunde miteinander spielen können. Ein Yay für alle, oder? Ich konnte jedenfalls auch selbst Hand anlegen und den Beastmaster Flank und den Operative Zane in den Proving Grounds ausprobieren. Proving Grounds sind im Prinzip so eine Art Late-Game-Bereich, in dem man verschiedene Wellen von Monstern in verschiedenen Arealen besiegen muss, um dann am Ende eben nochmal richtig tollen Loot zu bekommen. Und mit dem kürzlich erschienenen kostenfreien DLC für Borderlands 2 hatte ich für mich eigentlich gemerkt, ja, die Erinnerung an Borderlands ist cool, einen dritten Teil brauche ich aber irgendwie jetzt nicht so wirklich. And I was so wrong. Klar hat sich das Prinzip des Loot-Shooters nicht geändert. Dennoch bringen die neuen Charaktere, die man teils unterschiedlich spezialisieren kann, so viele Neuheiten mit rein und so ein neues Gefühl für das Gameplay, dass es ehrlich gesagt wirklich direkt Spaß gemacht hat, die verschiedenen Monster dieser Welt mit diesen verrückten Waffen abzuballern. Und natürlich ist das keine finale Meinung über Borderlands 3. Ob es mich auf lange Sicht begeistern kann, sowie die Geschichte und die Charaktere mich überzeugen können, das bleibt natürlich abzuwarten. Davon habe ich einfach jetzt nichts sehen können. Allerdings haben sie es durch ein paar kleine, teils auch größere Neuerungen eben für mich in dem Moment geschafft, das Gameplay wieder lebendig zu gestalten und mir eben Lust auf das Release zu machen. Und falls ihr jetzt aber jetzt mehr zu Borderlands 3 hören wollt, bleibt gerne einfach dran. Ich habe nämlich mit Art Director Kester gesprochen und konnte ihm einige Fragen zu Borderlands 3 stellen. Nur an der Stelle nochmal ein kleiner Hinweis, der ziemlich obvious sein sollte. Natürlich geht es ab jetzt gleich auf Englisch weiter. Ich wünsche euch viel Spaß mit dem Interview.
My name is Kester. I'm the art director on Borderlands 3.
So my first question is, of course, what's new in Borderlands 3?
What's new? There's a lot of things that are new. Obviously, it's been a long time since we made a new game, so there's when we start with like talking about what's new, we kind of go back to like what made the pillars of the game. So we first started there to expand on those. If it was, improving the story and the way it's presented, making more and more guns and gear. I mean, we have billions of guns in this game. I think one of the biggest things we really tried to improve was just like movement, like gun feel, like shooting, sliding, mantling, just the way that you interact with the environment. There's a lot more enemies and variations of them in this game. We're leaving Pandora for the first time. There's multiple planets that have different vibes, biomes, art sets, enemies. We put extra effort into our vehicles. I mean, basically we took the core of what was there, we expanded onto that, but we also tried to make the game easier to play. We added things like the level syncing and loot instancing, just things that made it easier for more people to play together. So we looked for a lot of quality of life stuff, but we also just looked at the core of the game and tried to make it better. So
the reason I'm asking this is because I think a lot of people are like, okay, I know Borderlands, and I think the challenge with Borderlands 3 is to keep it fresh. Mm-hmm. Is there some specific way you try to not to make it feel like Borderlands 2, but something new?
Yeah, we put a lot of effort into that. We have a weird weight on our shoulders because it's been a minute. People want Borderlands, but if we give them exactly that, it's a weird thing to balance, because if we innovate too much, people go, why did you innovate? And if you don't innovate enough, they go, why didn't you innovate? So it's like it is a hard balance. But I mean, I think with where we were at, it was just really important to I just completely lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
How to keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I think in regards to us keeping it fresh, it just meant like, how can we surprise ourselves as a development studio, and how can we surprise the player, obviously. And I think that for me, it wasn't, we switched engines, we've got better graphics, we've got better gameplay and stuff, and every game does that. So, all right, what's new? Well, it looks nicer. Okay, well, every game does that. But I think with us, it was the challenge of content and idea, and it was the challenge of, like, how can we make new things that people aren't expecting to see and do and experience? If that comes from narrative, if it comes from the twists in the story, if it comes from just, like, I don't know. We like to almost try to surprise each other during development. Like, did you hear so-and-so did this with their mission? And you're like cracking up like, they didn't do that. Or the inside jokes and that. And I think that's kind of where it is. It's more about the creativity of the content and less about we added this feature and that feature. And I think that the personality and the soul that we're allowed to put in these games, we're very unfiltered when we make them. Which is awesome that Gearbox and 2K are cool with like us just being us. And I think when we surprise people, I think it's just because we're being honest with ourselves, what we want to make. There's a lot of twists and turns in this game, and again, when people ask me about the art, and they go, the art style is cool looking, I'm like, I appreciate that, but to me, that's a given, kind of, and what we have to do is take you to some places and see some things and experience some moments in the game that really, like, subvert the expectation and go, okay, it's kind of more about that than it is about, people are joking, it's probably a battle royale, like, we're not doing that, So we obviously weren't going to do that, but I think it's more about just the creativity of us and what we do with it.
I mean, I think it was when the first trailer came up, I've read like, oh, it looks just like Borderlands 2, and many people didn't even see the improvement, and they thought that the gameplay just the same, just more of the same, as people say. I don't know. How do you personally cope with those comments?
So the first thing I ever said, I've been on this game for almost 4 years now. I worked on Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, character designer, moved into art director on this. And the first thing I said is, we're going to do all this work to make this game look better, and everyone's going to say it looks the same. Yeah. And the first thing I have it in, I told everybody, we all laughed. Honestly, we took it as a compliment. I'm talking about the visuals right now. Yeah. And the funny thing is, you release a trailer and people say, oh, it's the same game. It's like, you haven't played it. You don't know. Like, how does it feel? What are the skills like? How are the characters, So they're obviously talking about the graphics. Yeah. But honestly, with a style like this, and I've been with it since the art style shift on Borderlands 1, and I've had a large input and a big creative force in that, I see it as a compliment, honestly, because our game stands out. But I do have a tendency that people judge quality in regards to how realistic it looks. When something's stylized, they put it in a different pocket, right?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, that game is cel shaded. Technically, the game's not cel shaded. There's no clamping of values. It's all hand inked. There's no form of cel shading in it aside from an outline. I don't take that as a diss though. I love anime. I actually wish the game was cel shaded. I actually wish I could almost push it further like that. And when some people say that, it doesn't. So I love the look of our game. I love what we're doing with it, but it doesn't bother me, and it was something I sort of called. But I think when people play it and they see the way it moves, and they see the way the lighting works, the atmospherics, and they see the fidelity and they see the detail that we put into everything, they go, "This game was meant to be. It's supposed to look like this. This is how we always wanted it to look." And if you really compare to the past and you really put them side by side and play them and see it, I think you'll feel that there is an improvement. But it didn't really offend me because I called it from the exact second we did. I did. Like I said it and everybody laughed when it came out and we were like, yeah, you can't win. But I think people feel the difference when they actually get it in their hands and they play it. And they go, wow, I've heard a lot of people, this is a lot more crisp. It's a lot more vibrant. And to me, there's better resolution, better lighting, better fidelity, better physics, better movement, better all those things that and effects that contribute to that. So I'm not offended by it, And I think we took it to heart and we said, good. We want people to know that we're us. Yeah. When we look at these screenshots of different games that are in a similar vein, they start to you squint and they're all kind of similar. So we're happy with the look. So.
I mean, not the graphics. The graphics are not the only thing that is improving. It's also the number of weapons. Like I think 1 billion was a number that was told. Yeah, more than that. Yeah. I mean, how do you keep track on that? And on the other hand, how are those created? Are they created one for another, or is it just you have specific elements and they just?
Yeah. So each game we've rebuilt our gun system entirely. Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2 is totally different. Borderlands 3 is too. I mean, it's still a similar outcome to the end user, but basically you concept say let's take a dull pistol. We make hundreds of pieces of it, from bodies, grips, barrels, stocks, scopes, etc. All of those things are concepted and built as this idea that this is one gun that has hundreds of pieces, one gun of all the different kinds of guns, right? They have stats attributed to them that actually go into the build of the gun. We create a procedurally generated system that it took us 3.5 years to build those guns, like full-time dedicated team to do that. There's of the 9 manufacturers, they all have the distinct looks and ways they work. In the past, they used to share the parts. We really didn't have that many parts, and we mix and matched Hyperion pieces into a doll to it. This one, they have a ton of pieces inside of each category of not just pistols obviously aren't sharing with SMGs, they're sharing with pistols, but inside of the same suite. So visually they're a lot more distinctive, and gameplay wise they're a lot more distinctive than they've been in the past. So it was a term of visuals of figuring out how do we create the looks of them, but it was also how do we create the attributes and the gameplay and the rarity systems and all that and the alternate fire modes and all that is a huge undertaking. I actually don't know how we did it. I mean, it's like I do know how we did it, but I don't. At the end of the day, people ask about it, and it's like every time I play the game, there's something I've never seen before. I mean, maybe a similar shade, but will be surprised. But there are legendary uniques that have been handcrafted to look and act a certain way. So there's more of those than we've ever had, but. Yeah, so it's a crazy system. Very, very smart individuals that are not myself have helped to build the system. So,
I mean, you guys did an amazing job with Borderlands as a franchise. You kind of invented the loot shooter, and there are a couple of games coming after that which try to copy it. And I don't know, are there any loot shooters where you'd say you feel inspired by, or would you say they did it pretty well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. When we made Borderlands 1, we liked Diablo and Halo. And we said, let's put those together. So when we see a game, I mean, she might jump on me, if I see a game like Destiny, I see we were inspired by Bungie. They've been inspired by us, I believe. I see that's reciprocal. That's love between developers and stuff. And I'd be lying if I said we didn't play all those games and see what they do. There's good things in all the games we play, but we're also inspired by anything, not just that time of genre. So there's no we are a group of developers that all play a lot of different styles of games, and we're all inspired from different things, in regard to that. So I think there's been tremendous. I think some of the people that have made games that are similar to ours, we have nothing but love. I love it because it means there's more of that style of game, honestly. And when we kind of put our flag down in 2009 now, it was exciting to see that more people were interested. It made us think, hey man, it's like, why would I not play different fight? I love fighting games. Like, why would I only play one? You know what I mean? So, and for me, I just see that as it's good for the fans of this genre of gaming. So,
are there any, I don't know, elements you'd love to see in Borderlands 3 but didn't make the cut? Like, I don't know, you had some crazy idea but it didn't work out for the game?
Oh, I mean, there's tons. Yeah, right. There are more ideas than in a week we could think of more things that would be cool to do that we just can't implement, because here's the thing, this thing has been years of development. It's a lot of time and money between all of us, and even if I talk about being a concept artist, I'd probably say 80% of the things concept artists draw never come to fruition because you're filtering them to get to things. And sometimes you have a problem that's in front of you, and just because you drew or thought of some really cool things doesn't mean it solves that problem. Yeah. So it's really, we're at the end of the day, we're kind of commercial artists, and we can't just dream infinitely. Yeah. So there are tons of ideas, and we hold on to those things. Sometimes they never come back. I tell stories. The second drawing I ever did for Borderlands ended up becoming Krieg at the end of Borderlands, and that was on Borderlands 1. So it's like things come back, and that's why I get a little coy when I talk about specifics, because sometimes we might bring an idea back and that kind of thing. But we put out art books. Like the new art book that's coming out for this game has tons of stuff. I made sure to put a lot of things in there that didn't go anywhere, just to show people the thought process. Even for a character like Zane or Beastmaster, they took wild paths to get to where they became. So
let's talk a little bit about a specific quest in Borderlands 3. Like, do you have one you love because you love the character you created, or I don't know, is there a specific quest you just enjoyed the most?
There's actually a lot. So I can't talk about my favorite ones because
it's spoiling.
Because it's spoiling. And I know this is sounds like I'm talking PR guy. I'm selling this game. It's so cool, but really there are some moments that I think will generally surprise and maybe make a lot of people sad or happy. I don't know. They're very dramatic, but I think anytime. One thing that I could say that I was really happy about, if you've got a chance to play, have you got to play the game?
Yeah, just moments before we met.
Did you do Proving Grounds, or did you do the podcast? Yeah. So Proving Grounds doesn't have a ton of story in it because it's just gameplay content. But one of the things that is really cool, in these side missions and all these stories that you're doing, since your player character has such a voice in it and they have dialogue that is different, I love the fact that my responses from Zane are dramatically different than they are with Flak or Amara or something, and I feel like it actually kind of brings each of those missions that has a little different feel to them for me. So, but there absolutely is, and I think I'm a big fan of some of the content that we showed to Holy Broadcast Center, where you go up to Mouthpiece and he's got the big shield and stuff, and it's more of a simple get to this guy and take that, but we've got some really wild twists and turns in a lot of the missions that are really cool. There's a really cool ones. There's a really cool one on Eden 6 that I can't speak of, and there's Promethea ones too. That I like anything on Promethea because I love big urban city stuff. I fought really hard. I want to make a big city. We're we've never made a big city. I was I know. Let's try to make a big city, and it was a pain in the ass. But we made a big city, so I'm happy about it now. So.
Let's talk about more about the quest, because I think one of the the biggest problem, or people complained a lot about in Borderlands 2, that most of the side quests were just fetch quests or go there, kill monster X or whatever. Did you try to improve it? Because I mean, since Borderlands 2, Witcher 3 came and set kind of new standards regarding side quests.
Absolutely.
Is this something you aim for?
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, I actually think. Okay, here's the thing, because when you've got main missions, there's a narrative and there's a lot of weight to them because it's the thing. I actually almost think some of our side missions have better twists and turns than our main because, and let me explain why. It's because the people that got to make those had a lot of freedom. It was like, here's a self-contained, weird little story. Go over there. It's as long as it doesn't get out of that and like harm the main plot, you can do whatever in there. So there are missions. Let me. How do I put this? I mean, there are still some simple missions. Don't get me wrong. Like that, just because sometimes you want that. There has actually been times where I said, "Can I just have a mission where I go kill a guy?" and what I mean by that is we have some of these that the complexity of the mission strings. Side mission strings were actually more complex than almost half of the plot of Borderlands 2 in regards to the amount of objectives and things. There was almost so many. Like, and then this happens, and now we're going over here, and we have this option. And I was like, guys, like, this is getting ridiculous. The strings, the way the mission system works is kind of complicated. And the more strings and the more beats on it, the more ways that it can break and become... So it was a pain doing QA on all that, because if you went to that point and you paused and got out or something, and then it broke, and you were stuck in it. So there was a lot of work that went into. So I think people will be happy with that. That's the one thing I actually wish a lot of our side missions were forced to be main game content, because there's so much good content in this game. A lot of people might not see. You mentioned The Witcher, and it's like, I can't believe what they do in regards to like. You made that much that no one will maybe ever see, depending on how they play. But we have quite a bit of that in this game, and I always joke that some of our best looking and playing maps in Borderlands 2 were completely optional, and we've got those in this game too.
You earlier mentioned that you're a huge anime fan, and I don't know, is there some media, some specific things you feel inspired by when creating the art of Borderlands? And maybe also, I don't know if you know that about that, but I think humor is one of the pillars of Borderlands. And do you know the people who write, are they inspired by specific things?
Oh man, we are. So I have a thing that I really don't, like I mentioned, we play a bunch of games, we obviously do, sure. but most of my inspiration doesn't come from video games, and it usually comes from film or comics or art and just general art, right? So yeah, anime has been my biggest inspirations in the way I draw was from street art and graffiti and anime, and it was kind of a combination of those two through my weird hand and just the way that I draw things. So like, and the writers are the same way. It's film, it's plays, it's from these guys that I saw this play, and it's like there's something about the performance, the live performance of music and stuff that we try to bring in. So there absolutely is. I mean, if the really simple thing is that Akira is my favorite movie and comic of all time. So when I was making Promethea, I was like, I want that Neo Tokyo like backdrop, and I want the lights doing this and this, and I put them in, and my buddies know me so well at work. He's like, I put those lights, he's like, check this out, and it was just like the it just made me want to cry kind of because, and it wasn't like I want to rip that off. It was like homage, and some people would see it and they hear it and it's like, and they mention it and it makes me happy. So, and the writers are the same way, the creature designers are the same way, the animators are too. We look at so much stuff in regards to that. So it never really, I mean, I've just got a wall at my house that I call like Wall of Scott. That's just nothing but the movies and the comics and the games and just little statues and other things that like, those are the things that sort of built me. And everyone at the studio has similar things like that. They're built to different things. We all have different experiences, and life is such a great one. Like I come to shows like this and I come back and I'm like, the weird thing I saw here, here, I take the weirdest pictures everywhere I go, and like people are always like, I want to see what you and I make these weird little videos that I just edit. I don't really show them to people. I just do it for myself. So I'm always filming like weird stuff, and because those things come back to me, and I think life experiences and all that stuff build into it. And that's something we try to put into these games, and we put a lot of ourselves in. So
life experience is a good point, because that's just I just became curious. How do you become a art director? Like how does this work? When did you you obviously started drawing somehow in your life, and I don't know, how does this evolve?
Well, do you have a couple hours? No. How do I summarize it? I always loved art. I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. I was not good enough to be a professional skateboarder. I said I like art. My teachers were like, cool, be a fine artist. I don't want to be a fine artist. I like comic books. They're like, comic books are stupid. You know, you're too talented for that. I was like, I want to make video games. Like, why do you want to make video games? So it's a weird string of things. I was in the comic book industry. I made a game I made a game with a buddy of mine on the side. Didn't apply for a job. Got a job at Gearbox. Started making UI. I was making the bullet bar for Borderlands 1. We started doing art style changes. I said, hey, I draw like that. And I started drawing at night, brought it into the office. They went, hey, you're pretty good at that. And I was like, cool. And they said, you're doing characters. So I designed all the characters in Borderlands 1. Not all of them, a lot of the characters in Borderlands 1. Most of them in Borderlands 2, Environments 2, and moved into that. So it was weird. I never applied for a job in the video game industry. Randy Pitchford hired me personally because of a weird game I made that was a turn-based battle strategy game. We had no idea what we were doing, but he had saw something in it, brought me down and said, would you like a job? And I said, yeah, I would like a job. As a starving artist that was spent the last 8 years of his life doing anything he could to... So it was a weird thing. I mean, I don't have a degree in this. I have an associate's degree from a community college in communication design, which is just a fancy word for commercial art. And so everybody has a different path, though, and that's one of the things. But I loved art. I played Street Fighter 2 in the arcade, and my life changed forever. I said, I want to make characters. And that was the thing that drove me. From that point on, Capcom and SNK games made me want to do this. And I always pursued that. Never thought I could have a career in it. And I've got to make a lot of characters people love, and I get to cry every time I see people dressed up like them, because it's like, wow, how did that happen? So it's just the passion in there. So that's the thing I tell kids or whoever, or adults, whoever. It's just like, dig into what you want to do and just almost recklessly pursue that. And that's kind of how I got here. It's a super weird way. So yeah, most people go, I went to school and I got a degree and I got a job. I'm old, and there was not school to go to for that stuff. I just kept drawing, you know, and I never did fan art. A lot of people do fan art. I kind of have a thing that I don't like to do fan art. I don't even like to draw my own stuff outside of work in a weird way. And there's all these avenues. People start that way and they get attention and they get in and they do that. So I don't know. Sorry, that was a very... I could keep going. I'll stop.
It's pretty interesting to listen. But I know we're running out of time, so one last question. What can we expect post-launch?
Oh man, so we've announced our season pass. So right off the bat, we've already said it's familiar. If people are familiar with what we did in Borderlands 2, 4 big campaigns, chunks. Right, that's brand new stories, enemies, characters, environments. We went gold about, a few weeks ago, something like that. Oh, we've been doing some patch stuff. Yes. We're working on some things for the game at launch, but the team has rolled into DLC stuff. We're working on that. Obviously, similar things that we've done in the past in regard to seasonal things and that. We are building a game that we talked a little about late game stuff. We're talking about in game next week at PAX. That sort of speaks to our second playthrough and other things like that. But the longevity of we just made Commander Lilith, the Fiver Sanctuary. That was like 7 years after Borderlands 2 launched, and we just did that because we thought it would be cool. And the first thing we did was give it away, just with the hope that it would get people excited for Borderlands 3, of course, but also just because the thank you to the people. There are so many people that still play that game, so we plan to support the game as long as people want to be supported. But we made the commitment to a year-long pass of multiple chunks of big content, characters and stuff.
But you're not done with the Borderlands franchise, so we probably can expect maybe in 10 years, a Borderlands 4 or so.
Maybe 15 or 20. We'll let you really wait. No, that's a little early to talk on. Right now, we just want to support this game. We're still actually finishing aspects of the game for some of the platforms and things, and so it's coming here is sort of stressful because I know there's crews of people at home that are still working on this stuff, but we're getting there, man, and we plan to support it as long as people are interested in playing it. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you.